We have a brief break from our storm pattern, but snow, rain, and wind making a return, and it's over the weekend. I'm ABC 10 Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods. We're tracking yet another weather impact alert. It has been a very active March. As far as our satellite and radar, we are clearing out of our Friday storm. A break in the wet weather pattern much of Saturday into early Sunday, but the Friday one came in fierce. We saw wind gusts up to almost 50 miles per hour in parts of the Capitol Corridor here from Sacramento through Stockton. For Placerville, 33 mile per hour peak gusts, over 50 for South Lake Tahoe. With the snow piling up, we had nearly a quarter of an inch to a half an inch of rain throughout the valley coming in from this Friday storm. About a half an inch or so for the foothills, but keep in mind some of that for the upper foothills was snow, and it has been coming in over the past 5 days. We've seen anywhere from about 1 to 4+ feet of snow. Much of that coming into our Thursday and Friday, even Wednesday, where we were seeing that lowering snow level. Some of the folks in the lower elevations getting a dusting of snow for the foothills, and then accumulation above 3,000 feet. Now, we've got a very active Pacific, so much more in the way of active weather. Looking at our Sunday flood potential, you can see that we have areas of at least the risk of seeing some heavier rain flow coming in for much of the foothills as well as along the coast. So we'll keep an eye on that. On top of that, we'll again call for a weather impact alert for the Sierra. Sierra snow accumulation 1 to 2 feet, snow level 3,000 to 4,000 with Sierra gusts over 45 miles per hour. And for the valley, rain about another half an inch to an inch with gusts over 40 miles per hour. I'll show you in a moment why this storm is perhaps exactly what we need. Sunday night into Monday is when we have that weather impact alert for the Sierra. And again, preparing for those delays because of additional accumulation coming in on the tail end of a weekend, which tends to have higher volumes of traffic. So we'll continue to have these extended weather forecasts going as we dig into yet another weather impact alert. Be sure to check out our explainers for weather impact as well as climate specials. We've got a lot of series on our ABC 10 Plus app. You want to download it for free. It's live, local, always on, and we love to see it, especially as we dig into some of these bigger weather patterns. Our weather timeline on Saturday, a mostly dry forecast, a few Sierra flurries, but Sunday is when we really start to see things ramping up during the afternoon and evening. We'll see the return to heavy rain and snow as well as gusty winds. Now, the winds back off a bit for St. Patrick's Day, but we have the rain and snow continuing with our snow level down to about 3,000 to 4,000 feet. It will really stay consistent at about 4,000 feet. So places like Pollock Pines that were getting some snow as well as Arnold, we're going to be right back at it. Tuesday, mostly dry. And again, a few Sierra flurries, but overall, we'll start to dry out for the middle of the week. Shamrockin' half marathon taking place on Sunday in the capital city. We'll see a mix of sun and clouds to start us off, and we'll continue to see that. Now, winds will pick up steadily throughout the event here. We'll start off with morning lows in the 40s with those temperatures hovering a little bit below average. Overall, though, a fairly decent forecast, a little bit breezy from time to time. That sunrise at 7:15. We get into our wind advisory, though. It will be in place during the half marathon, but the peak gusts start to come later in the day, as you'll see with our future gust model indicating that that cold front is just hanging off the coast as it starts to press our way during the day and evening. We see gusts up to about 30 to at times 40 miles per hour. Really breezy as well for the Sierra. By Monday, we see less in the way of wind, but that rain does not stop. We'll see close to a half an inch to an inch down low for the valley and about an inch to an inch and a half for the foothills. As for Sierra snow, again, we're talking 1 to 2 feet of additional accumulation coming, and that just keeps the season going up there. And truly, this is the situation that we want at this point in the season. Rain on top of the snow would just mean an early melt. We want to hold on to that as long as we can because it's our free savings account. It's our frozen reservoir of water for the dry season. Snow level forecast, again, it will come down. We're going to see that dropping on Monday morning to about 5,000 feet and then down to about 4,000 feet by Monday. In pockets, Tuesday morning, we'll see it at 3,000 feet. It's just the bulk of the precipitation comes in Sunday night into Monday. So that's where we'll see most of the snow accumulation. Again, we're under this weak ridge of high pressure. The storm track still favoring a slight chance of a few flurries coming into the Sierra on Saturday, and a few light showers possible for the foothills, but the main event's hanging off the coast. That heads our way Sunday night, and it takes us through our morning commute. Now, this will be very, very light shower activity. The bulk of the precipitation will come in Sunday night through before sunrise on Monday. So the morning commute's still a slippery one. It's just the bulk of the rain has ended for the valley, whereas the foothills still dealing with the rain, and the snow continues to pile up for the Sierra. We'll see occasional showers into our Monday. Snow pretty much steady throughout the entire day before we get another break. And then we start tracking this next weather maker off the coast. It's just like a train that just keeps on coming. Our average monthly rainfall, March is one of the wettest months of the year. So it's not terribly surprising that we have this wet weather pattern for the middle and end of the month here. We usually get 2.82 inches of rain, and then things really start to dry out. So as far as the active weather, we see one about every 2 weeks or so of a weather event heading our way. Statewide precipitation, we are starting to edge towards the end of our rainy period here. So it's always good to kind of get a check on the statewide conditions. And most of us are still in a deficit. The reason why? Our dry January. We still are very wet for Eureka and Redding, but most of us really, really dry. I'll tell you again, the bright spot has been the Sierra. We have seen really great snow coming in the month of March. Sometimes we call it our miracle March. We didn't necessarily need a miracle, but the late season snowfall is always a bonus round for us. So we're at 102% of average to date for the northern Sierra. Central is now close to 85% of average, as is the southern Sierra. And then you always see that April 1st number that I put up there. That's because that's the point where we start to see the snowfall drop off and the snow melt begin. Statewide average 89%. And again, that's going to get really close to that April 1st average because we're nearly at the middle of March here. Big snow gains. I was just taking a look at the snow water equivalent as I was drawing in those numbers, and I noticed there was a big jump. So I wanted to show you this contour change in just a matter of 3 days. You can see throughout the Sierra spine, here's our shade of snow water equivalent. Look at the big jump that we took. Again, just from 2 big storms coming in. It has been impressive. It is much needed, and it will help carry us through the dry season. Some of that melting into our reservoirs, and here's a look at our reservoir supplies. Those really haven't changed too much over the past couple of days. We're staying well above average, and a lot of these are continuing to fill up. A little bit of release happening here and there, more so at places like Folsom because that's a smaller reservoir. But as you can see, our supply levels are very healthy, about 80 to 85% full right now. Millerton only 60% full. But again, the central and southern Sierra saw big snow gains coming our way. So that has the capacity to fill up. Here's a look at Lake Shasta, and this is what I was meaning by a little bit of the releases happening periodically. When we got those big February storms, there were bigger releases happening. Now water managers are able to at least fill that up a little bit more. What you'll see in this light blue, that's our average of where we typically see our reservoir supplies. So we have those big releases come in because the water is at its greatest demand during the dry season. And so then as those winter storms start to come in, we allow it to fill, and then releases will happen again as water is at its greatest demand and at a very limited resource coming in from the sky because we just don't see anything coming in from the Pacific. So again, April 1st is really that key indicator for this year to fill these reservoirs. I started off with Lake Shasta because it has 4.5 million acre feet capacity. It is our biggest reservoir in the state. Oroville is right behind it. That's our second, 3.4 million acre feet, and it is running well above average. Again, we've had a lot of construction at Oroville over the past decade or so, especially after that spillway incident. So now they have the auxiliary spillway that's in working order and ready to protect the downhill community. Right now, 2.8 million acre feet full, running well above average here, and a little bit of release is happening. But overall, again, these are really big reservoirs. They can hold a lot of water. Here's where you'll see the difference. Folsom Lake is only 977,000 acre feet, so it just cannot hold the amount of volume of snowmelt that will be heading our way. So releases have to happen. They've got the auxiliary spillway, they've got the main gates, and so a lot of water can flow in many different ways out of that. But it does head into the American River, eventually making its way into downtown Sacramento. So a lot of management has to happen because Shasta upstream, if they release water, as well as Oroville flowing into the Feather River, eventually making it into the Sacramento River, everything meets in downtown Sacramento. So this is the time of year it can get very tenuous when we have multiple storm systems in the pipeline. And we have over the week, but you can see it's kind of been coming and going. We had that big one come in on Wednesday, half an inch of rain. Then it went down to about a 1/10 of an inch on Thursday. Friday has been a big day for us, about a 1/4 of an inch of rain. So we're at 1+ inches of rain for the month. We usually see just under 3 inches, but more coming in Sunday into Monday. And as you'll see in our 10-day forecast, we still have more to come. Where does this put us in terms of the most recent water years? We're still running behind. We should have 19.2 inches by the end of the water year, which ends on September 30th of this year. Starts on October 1st last year, ends on September 30th this year. So we're a little bit behind here. But since we've had a couple of decent years right before us here, especially with Sierra snowpack, we're doing pretty well. We have a lot of groundwater storage as well as our reservoirs running pretty high here. So when we look at the sheer numbers, that really tells very little of the story of what is actually happening in the background of where we actually pull in our water. So how are we at this deficit? I mean, it just kind of blows people's minds that we actually are not at above average precipitation. It's because of this right here. January tends to be our wettest month. It was one of our driest months with nearly, or I should say barely, half an inch of rain in downtown Sacramento. And that played out really throughout the state. As we remember, those fires broke out in Southern California in the month of January because of critically dry conditions. They didn't get anything in the way of those early season storms. So deficits were continuing to grow. It was one of the driest starts to the water year, and that put us in a bad place. We caught up nicely in February, but just didn't do enough. So we actually need a bit more rain. And as you'll see, it is likely a warmer scenario setting up for the end of the month. Now, we do have just a little hint of a likely wetter setup happening in extreme Northern California through the Pacific Northwest, likely drier in Southern California. What appears to be a very La Nina typical pattern taking shape. Now, as far as the cooler weather, we are locked and loaded into this cooler weather at least through this week. Now, as we head towards the end of the week and into almost the end of March, we are going to see some warming, but we got a lot of moisture heading our way. So here comes that Sunday storm heading in from the Pacific. And then we get into our late Wednesday, early Thursday timeframe where we see yet another plume of moisture heading our way. And then one more to round us out for the week, possibly into our Friday before that storm track starts to edge its way northward by the end of the weekend and into the following week. So again, Sunday storm system looks like this. We get rain and snow developing in Northern California, a little pulse of that energy trying to press its way into Southern California. But the bulk of this is going to be a Northern and Central California event through parts of the Pacific Northwest. We'll get some drying out on Tuesday into Wednesday, but then by Thursday morning, again, another weather system heads our way. But this is the point where we start to see that moisture kind of pulling its way northward here. This, by the way, first day of spring, vernal equinox, so some spring showers for us. And then following it up with that Friday event, again, mainly a Northern California event, not really impacting much of Southern California. Highs for our Saturday, kicking off in the 30s. We'll be in the 40s and 50s down low throughout the foothills with near 60 across the coast. This is going to be a cooler than average weekend for us, with highs generally staying about 5 to 10 degrees below where we should be this time of year. And there's not much warming in the short-term forecast. We are going to keep it unsettled with our weather, as well as cooler than average. More snow for this year late Sunday through Monday. And again on Wednesday, we'll see that rain picking up on Sunday, thunderstorms potentially on Monday for the foothills, and more rain coming in late Wednesday. We'll see coastal showers coming in late Sunday through Monday and again on Wednesday. And as we reveal, our extended forecast, we see a very active weather pattern through our St. Patrick's Day. We'll have those showers continuing. And then again, I mentioned that vernal equinox on Thursday. Our spring starts with unseasonably cool weather. By the tail end of this 10-day forecast, we finally start to warm things up by the following Monday, where we're back in the 70s.